So excited about this fight tomorrow night, June 14th, between Kambosos and Hitchins. That that press conference was intense. There was almost a brawl, and I feel it was real, and it does help sell the fight as well. And I really think that um, Hitchison is growing on me. I wasn't really a fan of him until last night. Last night, I'm gonna be honest with you. Like he has skills, he's talented, but I had like a sour taste in my mouth with Richardson Hitchens because he avoided Subriel Matias because of the clause in the IBF organization title belt. But I feel like the fight that he had with Lemos, he struggled with Lemos, but I feel like he learned. He probably learned from that fight because a lot of times there's always boxers that have a bad performance in their career, and they wind up correcting it and making themselves better boxers, and they learn their lessons and they learn from their mistakes. But if he goes against Subriel Matias, I'm going for Subriel Matias. But I like Richardson Hitchens. I like his Brooklyn swag, like his confidence. Like I like the way he confronted Kambosos and said, "Remember you said you wanted to make a bet with me," and he took out $50,000 and he put it in his face, and that really pissed off George Kambosos, and the father. And they said, "Oh, you got monopoly money. Like you're throwing monopoly money." He said, "You bet on yourself." He was telling him to bet on himself, to not to bring money out of your check. Bet on yourself. In Madison Square Garden, like the professional way. He was trying to tell him that was monopoly money, and that he don't have to bring money in his face. I guess they don't like that. When it comes to like Caucasians, I'm not trying to get racial, but Caucasians, not all of them, but a lot of them, they get offended when a Latino or a black person is confident in themselves, and when they speak confidently and they speak boldly, it rubs them the wrong way. And I feel like there was codes when they spoke in the press conference. Like George Kambosos told Richardson Hitchens boy. He told him boy. Like those are racist code words. Like when you say stuff like that, that's like basically saying a racial epithet. By saying that. If you read the codes when they speak like that, Australia's a very racist country. Hey, thanks for subscribing to the channel. Thanks for tuning in. The people that have negative energy, they need to do something with their time, and don't use my channel to build your name if you don't have the energy that I'm bringing, the positive energy. I'm just speaking truth. If you don't have that energy, just take your negative energy somewhere else and see what it does for you. Don't use me as a scapegoat with my content to bring negative comments over here because you're using me. But anyway, I just want to say Kambosos is going to lose this fight, and I feel like the fight will be interesting. What happened? Yeah, they're helping my algorithms. But anyway, back to what I was doing. George Kambosos, the fight is going to be really interesting, and I feel that Kambosos has not looked good in his last 3 fights. I would say Jake Wiley, he beat him. He was 16-1 with 15 KOs, but he did get hit. He wasn't like invincible. He wasn't he did win the fight by unanimous decision, George Kambosos. But the way he looked with the other fight, Maxie Hughes, who was 29 and wins, 7 losses, and 6 KOs. Maxie Hughes beat Kambosos, but they gave the fight to Kambosos. And then that was a comeback fight. I think it was a comeback fight after Lomachenko, if I'm not mistaken. Lomachenko stopped him, knocked him out in the 11th round. Like, Lomachenko is a talented fighter, talented boxer, but like he is not as great as they say he is, like Mayweather. Like he's a good technical boxer, but he lost to Teofimo Lopez. Yes, that's the only victory that Teofimo Lopez has that it's a good victory. But as far as George Kambosos, he has not looked good since his back-to-back losses against Devin Haney in Australia. He has lost 2 times in a row against Devin Haney, the runner, and then he makes a comeback fight, Maxie Hughes, and he wins in controversial fashion with Maxie Hughes, a guy that has only 6 knockouts, and he didn't look good in that fight. He got hit a lot, and I think he got cut in his eye. He got bruised up in that fight, and they gave the fight to George Kambosos, but I think Maxie Hughes won. A boxer with 29 wins, 7 losses, 2 draws, and 6 KOs. That's not a good look. A fighter like that can beat you. Anybody can beat you. Like, he's a tough guy. Don't get me wrong. He's a tough competitor, George Kambosos. But the only reason why he's getting the fights like that he's getting is because he has the complexion for the protection. And that's what it is. But, nothing against him as his country or anything like that. But where he comes from, Australia, it's a very, very racist country. It's very racist. So I understand when he spoke in code, when George Kambosos spoke in code and called Hitchison a boy. He said, "Boy, you better be ready." And then, every time that Hitchison showed confidence that he's gonna beat him, that he's better than that he's better than Devin Haney, Lomachenko, and all those fighters. The father got in the press conference and says he tried to instigate a fight between Bill Haney, the father of Devin Haney, with him, with Hitchison. He said, "Oh, he's saying that he's better than your son, Bill." Like George Kambosos and the father was saying, he's saying that he's better than Lomachenko. He's saying that he's better than your son, to Bill Haney. And Bill Haney, like when they asked him, "Who do you think is gonna win? My son, Kambosos, or Hitchison?" And then Bill Haney said, "Oh, George Kambosos is gonna win." You see how he divided and conquered? That's what they do. Racist people like that, they like to divide and conquer. Instead of supporting Hitchens, Bill Haney, they divided and conquered and made them fight against each other and said, "Look, he's trying to say that he's better than your son." In the press conference, they were saying, George Kambosos and his father were saying to Bill Haney, "Oh, look what Hitchison is saying, that he's better than Lomachenko and he's better than your son." So they were trying to deviate the energy because he was confident and he was speaking boldly. And when he got when Hitchens got close to George Kambosos, and he showed him the money. He showed him the money, like, "This is what you bet it." That really infuriated George Kambosos, and he pushed Hitchens. And he's just confident, and I feel like he grew on me. Now I became a huge fan. I don't want to say huge fan, but I became a fan of Hitchens because he has that New York, Brooklyn attitude that's been missing for 10 years, since Mike Tyson. I'm not saying the style of his fighting, but that aura, that flashiness and that confidence, of that Brooklyn confidence, that New York confidence. He brings that, and I hope he backs it up. I want to see if he learned from the Lemos fight. In that fight, I think that the Lemos should have won that fight, or it was close. It was a close fight, but I think he probably learned from that fight. But I don't think that George Kambosos is better than Lemos as far as power, and I don't think he's an elite fighter because he hasn't. Who is he beating? Teofimo Lopez. Okay, he got lucky. Okay, but who else? Who beat him and they gave him the decision on a controversial fashion? Maxie Hughes and Lomachenko. Lomachenko was over, and he stopped. I feel like Lomachenko's a talent. He's talented. You can't deny that. But he has not looked impressive at all. He has back-to-back losses with Devin Haney. And what makes you think that he deserves a title fight with Hitchens? The only reason why he gets the title fight is because he has the complexion for the protection, and also he has a name that people know about because he beat Teofimo Lopez. Teofimo Lopez, mentally, he's no longer the same ever since he lost to George Kambosos, and I feel like that's a legitimate victory for him. But it was, it wasn't like he was a master technician. He gets hit easy, and he doesn't have like a boxing pedigree. He gets hit easy on George Kambosos. So I just feel like that's the setup. They're trying to set up Richardson Hitchens because he's saying that, are you going to fight me? And then Richardson Hitchens said, I'm going to fight you. I'm not going to run. I'm not going to go anywhere. I think that that's a setup. I think that George Kambosos' only way to win the fight is if he fights sloppy and if he gets careless. If Richardson Hitchens gets careless and doesn't use his boxing ability, his boxing pedigree, that's the only way that George Kambosos could win. So I feel like hopefully he didn't get into his head. George Kambosos didn't get into his head like he did with Teofimo Lopez, because they're saying, the commentators, they were saying that Richardson Hitchens, he could back it up. That he needs that to back it up. Like he has that Brooklyn swag, and he needs that controversy, that drama to hype himself up to even take it another notch. You know, I don't know if that's true, but we will see if he gets too emotional against Kambosos. Kambosos is a gritty fighter. He's not an elite fighter. I don't think he is. But if he can get to your head and he could get you emotional and not fight an intelligent fight, which I hope he didn't do with Richardson Hitchens, because if he did that, that's the only way that he could beat a Richardson Hitchens. Richardson Hitchens is a way better boxer, elite. Now, I don't know about elite yet. I want him to prove it to me. By beating Kambosos, that doesn't say that he's elite, but if he beats him in a convincing fashion, better, and he dominates him, that I would consider him a possible elite. I need to see more from him. Subriel Matias, if he fights Richardson Hitchens, I'm going for Subriel Matias. You know, I think he ducked the smoke, but then he did mention that he's willing to fight Subriel Matias, but Subriel Matias got impatient and said, I'm going to fight Puello. You know, Puello, the WBC champion from Santo Domingo, the Dominican Republic. So I feel like that's a great opportunity for Subriel Matias to prove that he can deal with a boxer and beat a boxer. So we're going to see how that goes. That's a very competitive fight. I think it's a 50-50 fight. So, yeah, so I think that George Kambosos and his dad, they're really unprofessional saying boy to Richardson Hitchens. Like, that's very racist. Like, he called him a boy. And that's code word for a racial epithet. If you read between the lines, those are code words. And that's something that I don't tolerate, is racist people, man. I just can't tolerate that. But I call it what it is. You know, if a person is racist, I'm gonna call it out. And I feel like, you know, Richardson Hitchens needs to stay on his A game and stay focused and not get into a brawl with Kambosos. Fight whenever he wants to in the pocket, yes, of course. I don't want him to be like a totally 100% boxing. No, I want him to fight 30-40% of the time and box 60% of the time. Like, make it interesting and make it exciting for the fans, but use your boxing ability and your pedigree, because George Kambosos is trying to get him into a brawl to fight that style so he has a better chance to win. Because I don't agree with the Turkey al-Sheikh nonsense that he's saying that he's no longer gonna have runners fight a fighter with heart, and if they don't fight with heart, if they don't have a history of fighting with heart and they just like to run, I'm not gonna put them in my card. I think that's bull. Because, you know, the boxer should fight the way he fights. You shouldn't control. Just because a boxer that fights with heart is limited and can't deal with a boxer shouldn't have to stoop to the level where he has to brawl and fight with him and not fight the way he naturally fights, which is with boxing ability, just because boxing politics wants to promote all action fight and control how the fighters and boxers fight. That shouldn't be something that should be allowed. I feel like every boxer should be able to use his own unique style and box and use whatever style is his style that he dominates the most. If he's a boxer or if he's a puncher, or if he's just a pure boxer, he should be allowed to be who he is. he shouldn't be dictated, or they shouldn't just gatekeep boxing to only be one way, just two guys brawling and give excitement to the fans. I feel like you box a puncher and you punch a boxer. There's styles, there's methods, and it's a science. It's a sweet science. Boxing is a sweet science, and it's a poor man's sport. It's people that come from the bottom are the ones that usually are involved in boxing, and that's why I like boxing, because it helps the underdog and it helps people from underprivileged communities. I don't really support the UFC like that. I'll watch it. I'm not like banning it, or just because I don't watch it like that. But I could watch it and appreciate it. But I don't. I'm not a huge fan of UFC. I'm more of a fan of boxing, because boxing is a poor man's sport, coming from the bottom and rising above the adversity, coming from communities that with low resources, not many resources. That gives an opportunity for boxers that come from communities that are underprivileged to become successful, and I think that's a good thing. I think that's a good thing, because we're not represented in mainstream TV. So I like that boxing gives the people that you count out, like the underdogs, the outcasts, an opportunity to make it out of the hood in the underprivileged community. So yeah, I subscribe to that channel. Tony also knows boxing. Subscribe to that channel. Tony also knows boxing, and I feel that this fight between George Kambosos and Hitchison, I have trouble saying his name because it's like a tongue twister. Hitchison, that's how you say his name. He's 19-0 with 7 KOs, and Kambosos, he's a decent, tough competitor. He's gritty, but he don't have no skills like that. But he does have a strong will, and he's very gritty, and he's dangerous, and he's very relentless. So I feel like Hitchison should not get into that mind frame of going toe to toe and not using his defense. What I think he's gonna do, he's gonna stay in the pocket. He's gonna use his boxing ability and block his punches and use his defensive skills. But I don't know if he could pull a Shakur Stevenson. I mean, we will see just how great he is or how good he is. But I feel that if he stooped down to George Kambosos' level and let George Kambosos affect him psychologically by saying that he's not going to run, he's not going to go nowhere, that he's going to go fight toe-to-toe with him, and that could be counterproductive for Hitchison, because he's not a power hitter. He's a very skillful boxer, and he should use whatever works for him against George Kambosos. I don't know if what he's saying is because he mentally he got affected by George Kambosos' verbal antics, and how he was provoking him, getting him mad, and he was saying that I got boys too. He was saying that, like, oh, you in New York, there ain't nothing fake about New York like that, because he was calling him fake. The money that he had was fake. The $50,000 that he betted, he was willing to bet on himself. They come on, give me the money. Let's put $50,000 down. And he said, be careful, man. He kind of insinuated. Hitchison kind of insinuated, you in my city, man. You in my city. Be careful, like that. And then George Kambosos said, I got boys too. So like you in New York, you're gonna feel a certain way, especially if you're from Brooklyn. And I like the energy that he's bringing. He's bringing that Brooklyn attitude, New York attitude. I haven't seen that in a long time. So he won me over last night just by the press conference. I just hope that he can prove it in the ring. It's going to be interesting, because George Kambosos might have gotten into his head, or maybe not, because he seems like he's confident. And some fighters fight better when they're angry, but they know how to control it. They use emotional intelligence. If he's that kind of fighter that can use emotional intelligence, he can still, override whatever emotion he's feeling and let it motivate him to actually even perform even better. Some fighters are like that, some boxers. But some boxers, when they get emotional like that, it drains them and it takes them away from their strategy. And I hope that that's not the case with Richardson Hitchens against George Kambosos. I don't like the way they disrespected and they swung at the trainer of George Kambosos swung when the security guards got in between them when they were about to brawl and fight, because they don't like the confidence that we have sometimes. Those racist people that they don't like the confidence that we have, so it bothers them. Just like somebody over here, he's hating on me in the comments because he don't like my confidence, because he's insecure and he don't know how to put positive energy for his own content. He wants to use my positive content and use me as a scapegoat so he could say his negative comments. You should just start your own platform. Don't use me. Get your own platform. I love it. Keep it coming. Subscribe to that channel. Tony Also Knows Boxing. Subscribe to that channel. Tony Also Knows Boxing. My prediction for tomorrow's fight, I really don't know who. I think I'm not 100%, but I'm like 80% sure, 70% sure that Richardson Hitchens is gonna win in a spectacular fashion. But there's some doubt because of the Lemos fight. But I don't think that George Kambosos is as good as Lemos or as powerful as Lemos. I say it's powerful. So I feel the fight will be competitive in the first 4 rounds, but I feel like Richardson Hitchens will take over after the 4th round. And I don't know what's gonna happen. He's not a power hitter. He's fast. He has good defense. Liam Paro, he looked good. So I want to see a little bit more from him. I'm kind of excited about the way he's talking, the way he's carrying himself like a Brooklynite, because I'm from Brooklyn myself. I'm Boricua from Brooklyn, Marble Projects, and we have that confidence, and we when you go through a lot in your life and you face adversity, you're gonna have that confidence, and that's the thing that I see from Richardson Hitchens. But I don't like the fact that he dug Subriel Matias. He should have. We'll see if he fights Subriel Matias. He did say that he's not running from him, that he's gonna fight him. We'll see if he fights him after Subriel Matias, depending on how he looks against Puello, the WBC Dominican champion. If Subriel Matias beats Puello, which is not an easy task, but I think that Subriel Matias is gonna win. And I think Punch Drunk is gonna look more Punch Drunk after the victory from Subriel Matias. I think that Subriel Matias is gonna surprise some people, and Punch Drunk is gonna be like, all the stuff that he said about the Dominicans taking over. They're not on the same level as Puerto Rico. Like I give him props. Puello's a talented boxer, champion, but Puerto Rican, the boxing pedigree in Puerto Rico, the champions that we've accomplished, the most champions per capita, of any other country, Puerto Rico has produced, and we have a rich boxing history. Dominicans don't. They're having a good moment in their Dominicans are coming up now, but they haven't accomplished not even half of what we accomplished as Puerto Rican boxing. Not even half. Not even a quarter of what we accomplished. So, but you got to give credit where credit is due. Puello is a talented champion, WBC champion. That's not an easy fight for Subriel, but I think Punch Drunk, he's really delusional if he thinks that he can compare Dominican boxing with Puerto Rican boxing. He did say that we have accomplished more, but he's trying to say that the Dominicans are taking over. No, they're not. You're going to be sadly mistaken, and that's going to be a good fight though. Puello versus Subriel Matias. It's going to be a good fight. I say Richardson Hitchens. The trainer, the father, George Kambosos, and the trainer of George Kambosos, the father, he swung at the trainer of Richardson Hitchens. He swung at the trainer. He swung at him, but when the security guys got in between him. So yeah, subscribe to that channel. Tony Also Knows Boxing. My prediction is Richardson Hitchens is gonna win by spectacular fashion, as far as by unanimous decision, or I don't know about knockouts or knockdown, but if he does that, that'll be a plus. but I don't think he's gonna knock out Kambosos. Kambosos is pretty tough, but Kambosos gets hit a lot. But the punch that you don't see is the one that stops you or knocks you out or hurts you. So we'll see just how good Hitchison is. But yeah, subscribe to that channel. Tony also knows boxing. Subscribe to that channel. Keep the love coming and keep the hate coming. I'm still going to be me. My content's going to get bigger and better. And the more you hate, the more great I become. And the more you love, the more above I rise. So you know how it is. You got to recognize. Tony also. Check out my music on all major platforms as well. Yes, and subscribe to that channel. Don't be afraid to subscribe. The haters keep coming and the lovers keep coming. The people that love me and the people that hate me keep coming. But you know what? There's too much negativity in this world. So I can't give attention to the negative people because they're very minute in my life. They're very minute because they don't use their own platform to be successful. They got to use my platform as a scapegoat to be successful. How much of a loser can you be? Keep the love coming. Keep the hate coming. But the love is always going to override the hate because when you want to be great, you can't be filled with hate because you succumb to adversity when you hate. But when you don't succumb to adversity, you love. You rise above. You surpass. Nothing's impossible for you because you're a God. You're on God's team. Yes. Subscribe to that channel. Tony also knows boxing. Subscribe to that channel. Yes. And I'm going to keep saying it like that so you can hate me more. And you can love me more. Whatever you are. Whoever you are. Pick your poison. My poison is, my truth and love is poison to the haters. But my truth and love is medicine for the people that love and have a positive perspective and positive mindset. So either way, I can't please everybody. I'm not a $100 bill. I can't please everybody. But I'm going to please the fans that want to hear the truth, the fans that love the personality, the charisma, the honesty. That's the ones that I do it for. But the haters are just a plus for me because all they're doing is just elevating what greatness is supposed to look like. Because if you don't have haters, then you're doing something wrong. People that are successful are always going to have a hater. But people misconstrue telling the truth and they flip it and say, oh, you're hating because you're telling the truth. No. When you tell the truth, it's not hating. It's just people that are hypocritical. They can't handle constructive criticism, so they use that criticism of you telling the truth as hate, so you don't expose them, so they can feel comfortable. But no, telling the truth is not hate. All right, don't get it twisted. Telling the truth it liberates you. It may offend the hypocrite because they can't deal with it because they don't want to grow. There's always room for improvement, so you got to take constructive criticism and you got to accept it so you can move on and grow and learn. But if you don't take constructive criticism and you keep calling it hate because it's the truth and you're not accepting it as truth, you're accepting it as hate, then you're never going to grow. You're never going to be successful in your life. All right, subscribe to that channel. Tony also knows boxing. Subscribe to that channel. Peace. Have a great weekend. I got Hitchison winning. And the undercard is going to be good. The undercard, some prospects. Yeah, I forgot their names, but heavyweights, undefeated. They got a Dominican guy that's fighting. I think he's Edgar Belanga's homeboy, and he's got a following in New York. So yeah, stay tuned to that as well. And he's gonna fight, I think, a Mexican from Los Angeles, and there's a lot of bad blood between them. He said, "Speak Spanish." He said, "Háblame español." So he told the Dominican guy that the Mexican guy. So that's gonna be interesting. So subscribe to that channel. Tony also knows boxing. June 14th. Kambosos versus Hitchison. Who do you got? Send me those comments. Peace. I still look good. Look at me.